It's my nerd world, and welcome to it. I'm your host, Jon Justice, for another Star Wars podcast. And you know what? Luke is the one who's going to have to intro the show this week.
This is not going to go the way you think.
So, we didn't get the footage that was just shown within the past hour at D23. I've got all the details. I'm going to be sharing them with you. This podcast for this weekend is going to be part one of two. Part two will come on Monday when that footage gets released. I am simply here this week to get my Star Wars enthusiasm and excitement out of my system. I don't know how this show is going to go. I'm running off of pure excitement and emotion that all started yesterday with the debut of the Mandalorian trailer.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession. Don't you agree? We've passed on all we know. 1,000 generations live in you now. But this is your fight. We'll always be with you. No one's ever really gone.
Nothing will stand in our way.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I will finish what you started.
Who are you? I'm no one.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
The Force. It's calling to you.
My nerd world.
Just let it in.
All right, let's get a couple of things out of the way up front. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Jon Justice, and I'm losing my Star Wars mind right now. I am not going to lie. All right, so this show is going to be a little bit different this week. I'm really just going to move right from my feelings of what's going on inside of me right now with all of the information that I've received, that you've received, starting yesterday when D23 kicked off, culminating into the descriptions of the footage from the Rise of Skywalker and the release of this incredible promotional poster, the teaser poster for the Rise of Skywalker. I thought I loved the Last Jedi teaser poster. I thought there was no other Star Wars poster that could wow and amaze me the way that the Last Jedi teaser poster does, and they bring forth the teaser poster for the Rise of Skywalker. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. Okay, so no listener feedback on this particular show. They are going to release this footage from the Rise of Skywalker, the sizzle reel, on Monday. I would venture a guess that if this gets leaked, and I'm honestly shocked that it hasn't got out there already, because I've seen camera footage from individuals inside of the panel at D23 with J.J. Abrams on stage, and so I am really surprised so far that nobody has gone and posted any footage of this yet. Plus, there were people inside of the auditorium that were live tweeting during all of this. So I'm going to reserve sort of the regular formatics of the show for Monday, when I've got some time to digest not only what we've received so far, but also the footage that we'll get on Monday that we'll need to talk about at length. I do have a description of it. We'll talk about it. We'll get into the information that came out yesterday, Cassian Andor series, the Obi Wan Kenobi live-action series that was announced yesterday. The scripts are already finished, just to make sure that I've got that out there before I completely divert off on a tangent. And, of course, The Mandalorian, the trailer of which looks incredible. If you follow me on the Blaster app or on Twitter, you heard my commentary yesterday, and I'll repeat a few of the comments that I made on that, because I just have one small complaint of that Mandalorian trailer. But I am really excited for that show now. So we'll work in reverse. I'm going to go off of all the information that I've just received before I sat down to record the show this week, give you some of my initial gut reaction thoughts. There obviously is going to be a lot of commentary, theory, and speculation coming off of what was shown, because it really has completely turned the idea of what this movie is supposed to be on its head. Based on the descriptions, I am stunned. I am shocked and stunned as a Star Wars fan to know that there is footage out there that is being described the way that it is, because I don't know how to make sense of it yet. All right. Leave a comment on YouTube. You can email me, TalkShowNerd@gmail.com, and the show is brought to you by My Nerd World and MyNerdWorld.net, where you can find out everything about My Nerd World. You can see original artwork for the covers of my EMBARK space opera science fiction series, and you can also get the books from the website as well, MyNerdWorld.net. Go and check it out. All right, so here's what I've been doing the past 24 some odd hours. I have been working on the audiobook for Treasure in Darkness, the second book in my series, and I have been reading the tweets from individuals who I've followed and have been receiving notifications for on Twitter as these panels have been going on, specifically the Disney Plus panel yesterday, and of course the live-action movie panel today at D23, where all this new information was revealed about the Rise of Skywalker, and the crowd was wowed and amazed to this apparent incredible sizzle reel. We'll start off with the story from, I have two different versions, so I'm just going to run through both of these. Actually, I have three. I've got some descriptions of the footage that was shown at D23 of the Rise of Skywalker from Bespin Bulletin. Also have an article from Entertainment Weekly, and then we're going to I'm going to give you the story from MakingStarWars.net, because Jason Ward probably gets into the most specifics about the footage that was shown. Before we do that, let's talk a bit about the footage that was shown yesterday. So yesterday, during the promotional reel for the Disney Plus app, they showed a series of clips, about 20 seconds worth of clips from the Rise of Skywalker. This appears to mirror the footage that was shown during the IgerCon the shareholders meeting that took place a couple of months ago, based off the descriptions. We see Finn in a confined location, might be the Death Star. We see Rey, Poe, and Chewbacca in the Millennium Falcon. We get the comment from Rey about, "I'm going to go alone, it's too dangerous," to which I believe Poe says something to the effect of, "No, we're going with you." We see a group shot of C-3PO, Chewbacca, Finn, Poe, and Rey on Pisana. Looks to be the same location from the opening shot of the teaser trailer. They're looking off in the distance. Maybe that's Kylo Ren coming before Rey does her flip over his advanced TIE silencer, his new TIE silencer. Plus, same location that it looks like where we saw Finn and Poe in the teaser trailer up on the rocks as well. We also get the shot of Kylo Ren in a white room or ship staring down at Vader's mask. And Vader's mask looks to be like in an airtight box, and the box is opening, and there's smoke coming off of the mask. Here's my current thought on that in particular. And I was tweeting about this yesterday. I was talking with Zach from the Knights of Vader about this too, about what this could possibly mean. After watching Return of the Jedi last weekend, yes, I do watch a Star Wars movie every week for those that took to my YouTube page and said that they don't believe that I watch a Star Wars movie every week, whatever. I watched 3 episodes of Clone Wars and half of Solo last night. Okay. Anyway, after watching the Return of the Jedi last week, at this point in time, I think the most obvious answer as to how Palpatine lives, right? And I'm fully aware that this could change, this could not be right, but this is just currently in my mind where I think this goes. The most obvious answer to me about how Palpatine cheated death is that he was able to transfer his essence into another object. Watching Return of the Jedi last week, it really does seem almost painfully obvious that happens at the end of Return of the Jedi. When Vader decides he's going to save his son, and he picks up Palpatine, and the lightning is coming out of his fingers. Now, whether or not we find out, as I've speculated before, that perhaps this is all part of Palpatine's routine, that he transfers his essence into a younger body, therefore taking them over, killing the host and taking their form, I think that's still a possibility. It certainly would lend credibility to my theory, and that is when Vader picks him up, the lightning goes into Vader, meaning Palpatine's essence goes into Vader. That infamous shot that as a kid seeing that movie, I remember, was so impactful, of seeing Vader's skull inside of his helmet, and that Palpatine's essence actually gets into the helmet itself. This, of course, would align with a lot of people saying that that's the case, and it's been Palpatine all along that's been speaking to Kylo Ren, which brings me back to this footage that was revealed at the shareholders meeting that they saw during the Disney Plus app promotional reel, where you see the box, Vader's helmet, and there's smoke coming off of it. Okay, what if Kylo Ren has the helmet all along, doesn't realize that it actually holds the essence of Palpatine? If the Knights of Ren, they return from the beyond, right? They find out and they discover that's how they have to bring Palpatine back. Kylo Ren doesn't want that to happen, let's just say for the sake of argument. Maybe he's already decided that he's going to help the Resistance, or he's leaning more towards the light side. And therefore, opening up the helmet and seeing it there is the first time that he's understood what the helmet truly represents, and he has to actually keep it from the bad guys, from the Knights of Ren. Or perhaps he decides he wants to unleash it as well, and then only afterwards does he realize his mistake. Now, this is where things get completely turned upside down based off the footage that was shown today that we're going to get on Monday. Because now I think there's a whole host of other working theories that could pop up that could relate directly to this. All right, so let's start off with the Bespin Bulletin footage description. According to their description, they say, you get the story of a generation comes to an end on screen. This sounds like, I know they say it's a sizzle reel. Nobody has mentioned behind the scenes footage, but this certainly sounds like more like another teaser trailer. Hundreds of Star Destroyers lined up against a dark sky. That has me over the moon excited. I love the idea of just a group of ships descending or a group of ships together. I've always loved those types of shots, right? The shots of a massive army of vehicles advancing towards their target. I love that visual. We saw it like in Apocalypse Now. You know the shot I'm talking about in Apocalypse Now of all the helicopters, right? Independence Day, when all of the jets, all the fighters first go to attack the alien spaceship that's sitting over Los Angeles. The shot in, let's bring it back to Star Wars, the shot in Return of the Jedi, the famous shot from inside of the Millennium Falcon cockpit, and all of the Imperial ships just sort of, spreading across the nose of the Falcon. I love those types of shots. So the idea of hundreds of Star Destroyers lined up against a dark sky just sounds incredible. Rey apparently throws her lightsaber and calls it back like Thor. What? Rey and Kylo fighting on a water planet, really going at it. Then there's a voiceover from Palpatine saying, now your journey nears its end. We hear Vader breathing. Rey appears with a double-bladed red lightsaber with a cloak, looks dark and creepy. Okay, so there's the Bespin Bulletin description. This is the article that just came out from Entertainment Weekly. There's brand new footage from Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker that was just unveiled. First up, the poster with Rey facing off against Kylo Ren, Adam Driver. And again, I'm looking at it right now on my computer screen, and this poster is incredible. You get the contrast of the blue with the red, almost like lightning. Rey and Kylo Ren facing off, and what they're facing off on, I can't quite make it out. Nobody's talked about it yet. I mean, it kind of looks like the Millennium Falcon, but I haven't spent enough time with it to go and make that comment yet. And in the background, you get an outlined visage of Palpatine. All right, back to the article. The behind-the-scenes sizzle reel, will be released on Monday and represents the first footage of the J.J. Abrams film since the teaser was released. Images include the duel between Rey and Kylo amid a stormy sea, hinted at on the poster. There's a massive fleet of Star Destroyers. There's a new shot of Vader's helmet. There's a shot of a hooded Rey revealing a new unfolding red double-sided lightsaber. Anthony Daniels said, "It's hard for me to understand the story is ending. But what an ending, you'll love it. We could not possibly tell the end of these 9 films without Leia," Abrams said of the character played by the late Carrie Fisher. So Carrie as Leia gets to be in the final film. I was not supposed to be directing this movie originally. We lost Carrie. We realized we could use the footage. We couldn't be more excited to have you see her in her final performance as Leia. Newcomer to the saga, Kerry Russell, said of her mystery character, "She's very cool, a little bit shady, she's kind of criminal, and an old friend of Poe's. We've also got further information that apparently she's an old love interest of Poe." According to, I think Oscar Isaac actually made a comment about that. Let's see. The Rise of Skywalker promises to conclude the 9-film saga that began in 1977 with A New Hope, or going chronologically with 1999's The Phantom Menace. Let's see. All right, so that's the coverage of the footage from both Entertainment Weekly and Bespin Bulletin. Now, let's move over to the really good one, and this is coming from Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. Before we get to the MakingStarWars.net description, I paused the show for about 5 minutes there because I've been receiving some further information in the middle of doing this show. And like I said, the show today is going to be a little bit unorthodox. We'll make it a little bit more stable and official on Monday after I've had the chance to actually go and see the footage. But some clips are being released from interviews that are being done with Good Morning America. My guess is, by the way, that Good Morning America is where that footage is going to debut on Monday before it's released online. Okay, be that as it may. Apparently, J.J. Abrams was asked about Kylo Ren and Rey, and he said that they are desperate. That was his word. At the same time, Daisy Ridley was asked about if she could describe Kylo Ren and Rey, and she said, connected. This is where I want your guys' help between now and Monday. TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. Drop me an email. Or leave a comment on YouTube. And make sure, again, if you're listening to it this weekend, get it in before Monday so we can talk about this and I can share some of your thoughts on Monday's show. Because I really want to hear what your theories are and what your speculation is over what was revealed. The connected part of it, the desperate part of it. Now, I get it. The Reylo connected thing is a real easy one, right? Okay. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, and that, of course, is something that I'm longing for. Be that as it may, if Daisy Ridley is saying things like connected, my guess is there's something more to that, okay? There's something more to that. And based off of this new information that we have with this sizzle reel footage that'll be released on Monday, there's a lot of sort of speculation that could be drawn because of that. All right, so this is what Jason Ward had to say. Footage won't be released to the public, but we do have a description, says Jason, who is at D23, of some of the major things that were seen in the footage. First off, Star Wars did officially release another teaser poster for the film that features Rey and Kylo battling it out in front of a looming Palpatine. Let me stop here, and then we'll get into the description. I really, really love this. I love the fact that they brought Palpatine back. Bringing Palpatine back and now actually seeing his image on the poster connects everything. Talked about this on previous shows quite a bit, but it really does go and it makes all the connections back to the original films. Going back to the Phantom Menace, having Palpatine be involved in somehow. And if he actually is there somehow in physical form, I mean, that even does more for that, right? And again, it really brings some depth and some intricacies to The Force Awakens and to The Last Jedi, knowing in retrospect, which we will after the movie comes out in December, that he's been looming in the background the whole time. Man, I love that. I really do love that. I've never had an issue with these films feeling disconnected from the prequels or the original trilogy. Now, I'm also a fan that was never under the impression that we needed to have the big three main characters, Han, Luke, and Leia, come back for the sequel trilogy. I am, and will continue to be totally fine with moving forward with brand new characters. I talked about this on last week's show. I really like the way that they've handled this so far. But if we are going to say this is the end of the Skywalker saga, I certainly understand the importance of bringing all these films together. And so in my mind, we end up kind of getting the best of both worlds. We'll get a final movie that's going to bring Palpatine back in that instantly connects it with everything that came before it. While at the same time, the story is still about these new characters that have been wrapped up in this saga and just didn't realize what they were in for at the start of The Force Awakens. All right. Here's where things get interesting, according to the story from MakingStarWars.net. Rey is wearing an all-black robed outfit with a double-bladed red lightsaber. Her robes are said to look very similar to Darth Maul's. What? Huh?
Something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake. And I need help.
I will be offering up my quick sort of shooting from the hip takes, my hot takes on what I think this could mean. I'll do that when I'm done giving off the description. All right. As we see Rey in this new look, we get new dialogue from Palpatine saying the journey is coming to an end. Now, this is pushing back a bit on what Bespin Bulletin reported. Because according to Bespin Bulletin, the quote was from Palpatine, "Now your journey nears its end." In the MakingStarWars.net one, it says the journey is coming to an end. So we'll find out on Monday, and maybe I'll have the opportunity to sort of double-check this before I wrap up the show today. We see Rey dueling Kylo Ren on the Death Star wreckage in the ocean. Jason says it looks incredible. We also see a super weapon. See super weapon-like lasers hitting the surface of the planet, which could link up to the story they put out about the Sith fleet. Talked about this on previous shows. The speculation is the Sith fleet could have Star Destroyers that have Death Star-like weapons on them. Now, this also could play into the fact that we had that new Star Destroyer that was released for the board game that had a super weapon on it as well. So that remains to be seen. Zori Bliss is Poe Dameron's love interest in the past. Rey is also wearing a rope-type necklace, which could confirm the festival scene that Jason reported a few months ago. Now, for those that aren't familiar with that, I'm pulling up the story right now. Give me 1 second. So according to this previous story, at one point in the story, our heroes are all reunited in this quest for the MacGuffin. That's something, or a MacGuffin is supposedly going to be delightful but somewhat controversial. At this point, he didn't know what it is. Poe Dameron and Finn structurally follow their leads and end up on that classic sand planet. And then Rey, too, ends up at the same location. The heroes celebrate being reunited at a festival of sorts in a happy moment, a quiet before the storm of an ending. Okay, so that was the original report. Getting back to the MakingStarWars.net report, this all sounds pretty incredible and unexpected. I'm very curious about this whole evil Rey stuff and what that could mean for the finale. Could Rey actually be a clone? It would give the cave scene from The Last Jedi a whole new meaning. The footage is exclusive to D23, so we won't be seeing the footage for a while, but for now we have an awesome poster. And since that point in time, there have been a couple of new reports that have dropped in the middle of when I've been recording this. I've actually stopped and started it a few times to kind of gather up the new information. But apparently, like I said earlier, they're probably saving the sizzle reel for Good Morning America on Monday morning, similar to how they unveiled the Vanity Fair covers. All right, so 25 minutes in, what the hell does all this mean? I have no idea. But I have a couple of thoughts. Okay, so let's get the easy one out of the way. The easy one out of the way is that this was all a vision. That the footage that they showed in the trailer of a Darkseid Rey, which was what it sounds like, right? A Darkseid Rey is a vision of what her future could be. Perhaps this has something to do with the Force Flash fight. Okay, so here's a scenario about how that could go down. Rey and Kylo start fighting, and I guess I should have put the spoiler warning on this whole thing, but I am speculating. I don't have proof of this, and again, even the Force Flash fights that we're supposed to be getting are pure speculation. So, again, if you're already this far into it, it's too late now. I guess you could turn it off, but I'm going to get spoilery based off a lot of informed speculation. Okay, perhaps in this Force Flash fight, we end up seeing, as they battle through different locations, the physical manifestation of what they saw in their visions in The Last Jedi. All right, so in the elevator, when Rey gets super romantically close to Kylo Ren's face, seriously, who gets, just as a side note, when it comes to The Last Jedi on that scene, because I love it, just what woman that is repelled by a man gets that close to talking to him in an elevator? Okay, either you're, like, totally comfortable with that person to talk that close, right? Well, I mean, you'd have to be. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. You'd have to be totally comfortable. Even a dude with a girl. You don't talk that close to somebody, right? To the point where you could smell their breath. And then she certainly does that. But in that moment in the elevator scene, before they go face off against Snoke and the Praetorian guards, they both talk about their visions. I saw your future. It's solid and clear. You'll turn. I'll help you. And then, of course, Ben says, I saw something too. And in that moment, you'll be the one to turn. Okay, so the easy answer is that during the Force Flash fight scene, this is a vision of what Rey's future could end up being. That could also potentially be the catalyst to which they decide to team up, because they both see vivid visions of a future that neither of them want. Okay? None of this lines up currently with what we've seen so far. We've seen now the lounge fly pendant, the pin that had the artwork of a helmeted Kylo Ren facing off against Rey with water in the background. We had the Vanity Fair picture that showed a not helmeted Kylo Ren battling on water. But again, too far apart to actually be engaging with one another. Okay. And now we have the poster that shows a helmeted Kylo Ren squaring off against Rey. Now, what we don't know yet, and what I'll talk about on Monday, is Kylo Ren wearing the helmet in the footage that was shown in the sizzle reel? Because this is where all my confusion comes in. On top of the fact that Rey's holding the blue the legacy lightsaber in that particular battle. So where did the red lightsaber come from? Where did it go? Now, here's where things also get a little bit confusing and interesting. She has the lightsaber on Pisana when she does the and flips over the Kylo Ren's TIE silencer, right? Okay. Other shots that we've seen, the lightsaber's nowhere to be seen, and she's holding her staff. Also in the trailer, they have, was it Poe and Finn are holding her staff. So there's a, I guess my point is, it's really tough to kind of connect these different pieces together because we have so many different images to work off of. I can't see a thorough thread line. The easiest thorough thread line that brings in a Darkseid Rey with the double-bladed lightsaber really is, in my opinion, something akin to a Vision. That's the easiest answer. Unless this movie is really super long and for some reason Rey does get tempted to the dark side to the point where she actually gets her hand on the clothing and a lightsaber. All right, so TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. Also, drop me a comment on YouTube. Let me know what you think. Now, let me offer up another theory. Let's say that it is completely rational and they explain it in the movie. Let's just take this for granted. Let's just say this gets explained and it's not over the top and we accept it. That Rey ends up in this outfit that we'll all eventually see coming up on Monday. Dark side clothes, double-bladed red lightsaber, the whole 9 yards. Okay, that is actually real. That happens in the movie. It's not a flashback. It's not a vision. Okay, how is this possible? Here's my theory, if that's the case. My theory is, yeah, it goes back to Rey Palpatine. Whether she's a clone, whether she is a descendant, don't know yet. Curious to get your thoughts, but let's roll with the clone theory just for the sake of argument. I don't particularly care for that. I think that making Rey, if she's only one, so let's say she's cloned off of Palpatine, or let's say she actually is a clone of Luke, and we're back to the floating severed hand, which was the beginning opening of The Force Awakens. Okay, let's just say for the sake of argument. Let's say that somehow she was created by Palpatine. That's my point. JJ could take a very close to the mark parallel to Return of the Jedi by Rey finding out that that's the case. Rey in the first movie is waiting for her parents. Rey in the second movie asks the Darkseid Cave where she comes from. She gets an answer that's the hardest, according to Rian Johnson, that she has to find that within herself. She's not going to have an easy answer. In the conversation with Kylo Ren, of course, they were nobody. Okay, sold you off for drinking money. He doesn't have to be lying if she was handed off to somebody else and left on Jakku because maybe they knew where she came from and that place where she came from was a creation of Palpatine. Therefore, by the time we get to the Rise of Skywalker and she learns about this, she succumbs to her temptation and decides she's going to go to the dark side, perhaps to save all of her friends in the same way that Palpatine tried to get Luke to do that in Return of the Jedi, in which case you could really turn this movie on its head if it's actually Ben Solo who gets redeemed way earlier, or maybe this is his chance at redemption and he's the one that has to bring her back from the dark side. Again, I am not sold on this. That is pure and utter speculation on my part. I have no idea how all that would work. I'm just tossing it out there. So feel free to dismiss it. Say, John, you're crazy. I will not take offense to any of that if you guys completely disagree, but I want to know your thoughts. I'm just throwing it out there because I think that could be a possibility, but then at this point in time, I wasn't expecting any of this so far. So in my mind, any suggestion that anybody wants to give right now is absolutely a possibility at this point in time.
Something inside me has always been there.
Yeah, it has. It's that clip because I already played it earlier. Let's go with this one instead.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about what was released this weekend during D23. And again, we'll have plenty of time to spend all of Monday's show off of your comments and the footage that we see talking about the Rise of Skywalker. Cassian Andor. We had Alan Tudyk, and we also had, of course, on stage Diego Luna, who were there to talk about their Cassian Andor series. The Cassian Andor series will be coming to the Disney streaming service in 2021. I'm, of course, looking forward to it, but that's about all I've got for you right now with that. I guess it's 3 years before the events of A New Hope. I'm curious to see what they do with it. I hope that they end up giving us a lot of diversity in locations, and that it's not just something that's reminiscent of Rogue One. Because quite honestly, we've got Rogue One, we have Solo, a Star Wars story that's within the same time period. We're going to get this Obi Wan Kenobi live-action TV series, and we also have The Mandalorian. So we've got a lot of shows that are taking place in very similar locations. So at this point in time, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with Cassian Andor, and I hope that it's something more on a galactic scale. I could certainly understand the base being Yavin, which I'd be totally fine with, but I hope that the stories that are told are stories that are out within the galaxy, deep in the galaxy, in locations that we haven't seen before, maybe prequel locations. But without seeing any footage or knowing any more details, it's kind of hard to get excited for that when we have so many other things on the horizon. Obi Wan Kenobi, also 2021. Looking forward to this. I'm not one of the fans that has been clamoring for this desperately. I know a lot of fans are. That has me happy, because if Star Wars fans really want something, then I think it's important that Disney goes and gives them to them in this case, and it'll help with the future of Star Wars. So I'm looking forward to it. I love Ewan McGregor. I think his portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi is fantastic, and I'll patiently wait for that TV show to drop in 2021. And we'll end up, seeing what we get then. Apart from that, I don't know. We've kind of been living with that rumor for a long, long time. So I'm excited for it, but not in the way that I am for the stuff that we're getting right away. Speaking of which, I'm going to play it again just because I love this music so much. The official trailer from The Mandalorian, and then we'll talk a bit about The Mandalorian. But I love this trailer, and the music in it is just spectacular. Plus, it's going to afford me an opportunity to check on my Twitter feed as information continues to come out from these interviews that are being leaked about the Rise of Skywalker. So I want to make sure that I get as much of this breaking news in this weekend show before Monday as I can. So here, give a listen to this, and I'll be back in 1 minute and 36 seconds.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession. Don't you agree?
I just absolutely love that music. Now, I don't know if that music is done for the trailer itself, or if that is actual music from the show that was done by the composer that they hired, the same composer that did Black Panther. But the music for that looks spectacular. I was looking forward to this show. I'm really looking forward to this show now. I put up a Blaster post yesterday on the Blaster app, and also uploaded it to Twitter, so you can go and find that at the My Nerd World on Twitter, or if you're on the Blaster app, just look for My Nerd World and you can listen to it there. But this teaser trailer has me super excited. My only complaint, and then I'll talk a little bit more about what has me so excited about this. My only complaint is, and this is what I talked about yesterday, Disney, Lucasfilm, whomever is in charge, stop with the just emotional visual trailers and put some more meat on the bones. This is coming out in November, just a couple of months away. Those of us that follow the news know a bit more about what The Mandalorian is about than most people do. But we're at a point now where these trailers are all kind of treated like teaser trailers, and full trailers are a little bit better, especially when you go back and look at like The Last Jedi. That full trailer did a good job of sort of laying out and getting us prepared for, in retrospect, what was to come in that film. this trailer for The Mandalorian is fantastic. It looks incredible. I just wish that they would tell us a little bit more of the story and stop banking on it just being Star Wars to get us excited. Yes, for us Star Wars fans that works, but even I know that you need to tell a good story. And I've learned that lesson from trying to sell my books and promoting my science fiction space opera novels, that reviews, quotes from reviews work really well, but I got to tell people what the story is. And as a matter of fact, this week there was a story about how a Yellowstone eruption of their supervolcano, in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, could be an almost extinction level event for all of Earth. That's a huge component of my first book. The eruption of Yellowstone, and I'm not giving anything away. On the book blurb, it mentions how humanity has to escape from the stars. But a big reason why is that particular reason, that Yellowstone goes up. And so I didn't even dawn. I mean, I had that book released almost a year ago. It was released November of last year. I put out Treasure in Darkness 2 weeks ago. I've never promoted it using that angle. And so I went and started promoting it, saying, hey, here's a story from the New York Times talking about this supervolcano that could, make life on Earth extinct. And I was like, holy cow, this is what happens in a future Earth in my book. And they ended up actually doing quite well, running some ads and some Twitter posts about that as well. And that was just something I hadn't thought of before. So getting back to Star Wars and The Mandalorian, I just really wish that Disney would start feeding us more of the story. Tell us more of what it is, because the story of The Mandalorian is really compelling. The final shot in the trailer was individuals frozen in carbonite, and we heard that apparently there was a carbonite container on his ship, and maybe he's transporting individuals. All right, so that's my only negative part of the trailer. The positive part of the trailer, it looks gorgeous. My wife said it looked like Solo and Rogue One. It does. You're talking about desert locations. We've got too many of those in Star Wars, I'll be honest. It doesn't bother me to the point where it ruins any of the shows for me. I'm just saying I'd like a little bit of diversity in my ground color. Let's put it that way. But it looks great. Some of the environments look very different. The shots look incredible. If you're a fan of Boba Fett, I imagine that this is going to be Mandalorian porn for you, for lack of a better word. I suppose I should probably choose a better word because I don't like attaching that to anything. So if you're a fan of Mandalorians and Boba Fett, you've got to be excited about this teaser trailer. Because it does look like it has a very Western vibe to it, and a very gunslinger vibe to it, and a very adult vibe to it. The visuals look stunning. I've always liked Boba Fett. I wasn't over-the-top excited for anything Boba Fett. I liked Jango Fett as well. It's not high up in the list in the list of things that I love for Star Wars. I love my lightsabers and my Jedis and my vehicles and my space battles. That being said, this looks really exciting. And I think the bigger takeaway, and I'm going to wrap up today's show on this particular point, and again, we'll talk about Monday's show here in just a bit, but looking at the future of Star Wars, when you look at the slate that they have laid out for us now, you've got The Mandalorian coming up here in a couple months, and then we got The Rise of Skywalker. Mandalorian's going to be perfect to fill that void as we count down the days to the release of what looks to be just an incredible Star Wars movie in The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, season 1 and 2, and season 2 will be next year. We have the conclusion of the Clone Wars. That'll be coming in just a few months, February of 2020. You've got Captain Cassian Andor in 2021 and the Obi Wan Kenobi show in 2021. And then the following year, we have the next Star Wars movie. So I'm excited from a podcasting standpoint because there's obviously not going to be much of a gap in things to talk about. There'll be plenty of Star Wars content. They'll be giving the theatrical releases a break. And we've got a lot of stuff to really get into and enjoy between now and whatever that next theatrical film is going to end up being in 2022. I'm really excited. I'm more excited for that sizzle reel that will get released on Monday. And I'll wrap up with this particular comment and point to next year. A lot of people were wondering, why are we going to have a celebration in August of next year? I'm going to be at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim in August next year. As soon as they become available, I am going to be requesting to do the show live from Celebration. I'm also planning on doing, I don't know exactly how I'm going to pull it off yet. But I also am planning on doing a book signing when I'm in California on one of the evening days after Celebration is done for that day. My EMBARK science fiction trilogy will be finished by then, so I'll have all 3 books out and available, and I'm really hoping that I'll be able to not only meet you if I'm able to do the podcast, but at a bare minimum, if I can't do the podcast live while we're there at Celebration, I will have some sort of get-together as a book signing. It may even be just casual, hey, meet me at this particular restaurant, come say hi, I'll have some books, and if you don't want to buy them, you can just talk Star Wars with me. That's the plan. But what are they planning to do for Star Wars Celebration next year? Well, I think I know. Depending on when they're planning on releasing the Cassian Andor series and the Obi Wan series in 2021, it seems pretty clear that we could be getting trailers for the Obi Wan series and the Cassian Andor series, along with panels for both of those shows. Plus, since they still haven't released any details for what the upcoming movies are, I imagine that the 2020 celebration is going to be the time when they tell us the details for the 2022 movie. I doubt we'll get a panel of actors for next year's celebration, but I imagine that maybe they do something akin to what they've done with Marvel, where they give us a slate of the theatrical releases and where in a timeline of what's coming up. We got that for the Disney Plus streaming app on Friday. They did show they showed a really incredible image of all the different movies and a timeline to basically show what'll be available on the Disney streaming app. But maybe next year we get that. But I certainly do think that the next year's celebration in Anaheim is going to be largely focused on what's happening on the Disney Plus streaming service, trailers for Obi Wan and Cassian Andor, and probably announcements of other live-action TV shows and potential new cartoons coming to the Disney streaming service. That's my guess for next year, and I am over the moon excited. All right, here's your homework. Send me a comment. YouTube. Leave one on YouTube. Email talkshownerd@gmail.com and let me know what you think of the description of the footage, the poster, your theories. And then on Monday, once that footage is out and I'm home from my regular job, I will sit down once again and record another podcast. In the meantime, for this weekend and the next few days, you can pick up both copies of my book in ebook for just 99 cents. So I've discounted them again. The ebook for EMBARK and for Treasure in Darkness, both 99 cents. Go and check out the reviews. They're really, really good. So if you've been sitting on the fence, go get them today. It is the way to support this podcast, and I really would appreciate it. If you've already purchased them, thank you. Why not spend another $1 and buy them for a friend? How great would it be if you know a Star Wars science fiction fan who actually reads to say, hey, friend, here's a copy of these books written by this podcast dude that I like, and in ebook, and it's book 1 and 2 with the 3rd book coming out in the next 4 months. Here you go, friend. Amazon.com, search for Jon, Jon Justice, to pick up the books. You can also go to mynerdworld.net and pick them up there as well. For those that don't know what the story is all about, here's the ad, and then I'm going to say goodbye. For Earth, the end is near. Only a reluctant hero and the girl he loves have the power to save humanity's future. It's the not-so-distant future, and car culture is replaced by air and space flight, made possible by 2 of Earth's largest corporations. Flight mechanic Taft Guardia spends his free time racing through the skies with his 3 best friends and the girl he longs to be with, headstrong Keith Amaro. With the planet on the brink of an industrial apocalypse, a powerful and ruthless corporate madman, Sint Argum, moves to exploit the disaster with his covertly created military. When Taft, Keitha, and their friends uncover a shocking secret, Sint Argum will stop at nothing to find them. Time on Earth is running out, but with the help of a ragtag group of young pilots, they'll fight for humanity's future and survival among the stars. Head to Amazon.com or mynerdworld.net and pick yourself up the ebook for either book for 99 cents. Paperback are available for both. Audiobook only $7.50 with the purchase of the ebook for Book 1 of EMBARK. And I will be submitting the audiobook for EMBARK Treasure in Darkness Book 2 in the next few days, and it should be available in the next few weeks. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to talking with you again on Monday when we actually get the footage of that sizzle reel. Until then, here is Obi Wan Kenobi to let you know that the Force should be with you always.
The Force will be with you always.
My nerd world.